This started in May of 2010 when Mr. Gibbons, a local resident, was attacked in his house in Clarendon County by 3 men who were masked, who beat him up, robbed him, and stole his car.
Solicitor Chip Finney convinced a jury that Victor Weldon and Michael Pearson were the 2 men who beat, robbed, and left 67-year-old Edward Slick Gibbons for dead during that 2010 ambush. Victor Weldon's DNA was on the tape used to tie Gibbons up, direct evidence that convicted him. It was a lone fingerprint on the back of Slick Gibbons' stolen El Camino that Finney and the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office used to put Michael Pearson away. Both were sentenced to 60 years in prison.
He fabricated a whole story on me in the courtroom. His whole case was on Victor Weldon with his DNA being on a piece of duct tape. And then he would slide off to me. And it's this Michael Pearson, his fingerprint, where somebody jumped in and out of the back of the truck. Victor was telling them when he pleaded to the case that all of them was sitting inside the truck. How can somebody's fingerprint be on the back of the truck when everybody's inside the truck?
After 15 years behind bars, Michael Pearson was set free in August 2025. In January 2026, Michael Pearson filed this lawsuit against everyone who had a hand in his conviction and his appeals, including Solicitor Chip Finney. Finney's investigator, Mark Creech, both sheriff's investigators, Captain Kenny Clark and Thomas Ham, and the South Carolina Attorney General's office. Pearson listed 17 claims in his lawsuit, from malicious prosecution and false imprisonment, negligence in training and supervision against the sheriff's office and investigators Clark and Ham, who initially identified Pearson as a suspect. Clark and Ham initiated a false arrest and baseless criminal prosecution against Pearson, unlawfully caused the arrest of Pearson, unlawfully initiated and maintained prosecution against Pearson without probable cause, and Clark and Ham's actions caused the wrongful conviction and incarceration of Michael Pearson.
There is compelling evidence that there's a reasonable probability that he did not participate in the offenses back in 2010.
Pearson's lawsuit is also going after Solicitor Chip Finney. The lawsuit accuses Finney and his office of false imprisonment and gross negligence. Pearson isn't suing Finney over his conviction alone. He's also suing him for his failure to disclose known exculpatory evidence and of a 14th Amendment due process violation for failing to act on evidence of innocence, which left Pearson imprisoned for more than 2 years after Finney knew Victor Weldon gave up evidence of Pearson's innocence.
And Pearson ain't had nothing to do with this.
I don't know him.
I'm talking about your co-defendant that was tried with you.
I know you don't know. I don't know better.
He never had nothing to do with this.
I don't know him.
He wasn't with y'all.
No.
In March 2023, Weldon came clean. He finally admitted he and 3 others robbed Slick Gibbons, beat him, then stole his car.
You gave us 3 names and we got 3 photo lineup we want to present to you. When you pick out the person, if the person is there that you know, I need for you to circle it, I need for you to initial it and date it, okay?
Weldon even picked out his co-conspirators' names and pictures from lineups. Investigators recorded 3 separate interviews with him.
How you doing?
Got ready? Good.
And Solicitor Finney was right there during one of those confession interviews.
So who is this?
In exchange for his confession, Finney erased Weldon's 60-year prison sentence. Victor Weldon was freed on Halloween 2025.
How you doing, Mr. Pearson?
All right, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right.
There was still a problem. More than 4 months after Weldon's confession, Michael Pearson was still sitting in a prison cell.
Pearson, my name is Mark Creech. I'm a retired SLED agent and I work part-time at the solicitor's office. We wanted to bring you down. The solicitor was supposed to be here, but he got called away to a statewide meeting. But he wanted us to go ahead and meet with you and kind of update you and bring you up to date on some developments that have happened.
I was transported to Clarendon County. I was told by the solicitor investigator and Detective Clark, Victor had confessed to the charges, and he said that I didn't have anything to do with it. The first time I heard this, the solicitor investigator introduced himself. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But he explained to me everything that was going on with Victor Weldon. He said it was up to him to believe me if I did it or not. I told him, I was telling y'all I didn't have anything to do with this from the beginning.
Mike, do you want to get out?
Sir?
Do you want?
Hell, I ain't got no business in him. Period. Hey, can we go? Y'all finished with that?
I'm through.
Okay.
When Pearson left the solicitor's office following this July 2023 interview, he went back to prison. For more than 2 years, Pearson says he didn't hear anything from the solicitor's office. We couldn't find any evidence in the case file showing the solicitor's office did anything to free this innocent man.
They gave me a fake hope for joy when they said, "We're gonna help you get out of here." 2 years later, I was still sitting in the jail, in the penitentiary. Chip Finney wasn't trying to help me get out of the penitentiary. The solicitor is supposed to help an innocent man if he know that he put him behind bars and he's innocent. But he didn't try releasing me. He was trying to sweep me under the rug.
Pearson's release did not come easily. He spent years appealing his conviction and fighting South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson and a legion of the AG's taxpayer-funded prosecutors through every appeal. Pearson lost every attempt to prove his innocence against the AG's office.
The man telling you the truth. I ain't had nothing to do with that. I done did 15 years of my life.
In June 2024, a year after Weldon's confession, Michael Pearson filed this post-conviction relief application with the Attorney General's office, begging for a new trial. He told the AG he was imprisoned unlawfully because of newly discovered evidence. My co-defendant made a statement of my innocence. Clarendon County's clerk sent the PCR application to the AG on June 8, 2024. The clerk's office shows 14 months passed, and the AG's office did not file a single document to get Pearson in front of a judge for an evidentiary hearing. That happened only after North Carolina's Center on Actual Innocence attorneys Chris Muma and James Babb took Pearson's case on. In just 2 months.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Clarendon County.
The center did what Chip Finney's solicitor's office hadn't done in more than 2 years, brought Michael Pearson in front of a judge to ask for his release from prison. Pearson's lawsuit also attacks the lone fingerprint evidence used to convict him. Court records show Sheriff's investigator Kenny Clark provided 3 names to Sumter Police's fingerprint analyst Marie Hodge. Pearson was one of those names. Hodge then ran the fingerprints through the nationwide automated fingerprint identification system known as AFIS to see whether any of the 3 men matched any of the prints from the crime scene. The computer database returned negative results, meaning none of the men's prints matched anything in the database. That's until Sumter Police's AFIS expert, Marie Hodge, visually compared the men's prints to the crime scene prints. She determined a single thumbprint on the back of the El Camino belonged to Michael Pearson, but she could not determine when, where, or how the print got onto Slick's car. A few hours later, sheriff's investigators arrested Michael Pearson, charging him with the robbery, kidnapping, and beating of Slick Gibbons.
They didn't say anything about the other 4 prints. They were saying Michael Pearson's thumbprint was found on this car.
He did it.
Yeah, he did this. I don't understand why that machine didn't clear me. I don't know why they make technology and don't want to use their knowledge.
Marie Hodge testified at Pearson's trial that she visually inspected his prints taken from the El Camino and found 14 points that matched Pearson's right thumbprint. Pearson's lawsuit claims Hodge wasn't supposed to know who the fingerprints belonged to when she examined them to avoid confirmation bias in her analysis. Hodge's departure from this protocol rendered her identification unreliable and, upon information and belief, false, Pearson's attorney wrote in the lawsuit.
Which was more accurate, the eye or the machine? If the machine was good enough to put someone in the penitentiary, why is it not good enough to let someone go?
Or keep them out of the...
keep them out of the jailhouse.
They even had the polygraph that showed you were telling the truth.
Right.
That Victor Weldon was telling the truth. Why did you serve another 2+ years?
That's a good question.
The lawsuit accuses Finney of doing nothing to free Pearson after Finney personally participated in Weldon's confession, the investigation of it, and then setting up the 2023 plea agreement that set the true perpetrator of the crime free. Instead of helping formalize Pearson's innocence, Finney offered Pearson's attorneys a deal. I requested that his client consider and agree not to return to Clarendon County upon his release, and that he would also agree to waive any civil damage claims against the victims and law enforcement. Pearson's attorneys declined Finney's offer, with Muma and Babs staring Finney down. He asked Judge Robert Hood to grant Pearson a new trial in this August 2025 hearing. Hood immediately granted it, then set Michael Pearson free. Finney officially dropped his prosecution of Pearson 1 week later. We tried to get Finney's side minutes after that hearing. In March of 2023,
I'm not going to talk about the case because I've still got an investigation going on.
Okay.
And I don't want to talk about it until I have everything sealed tight and ready to go to court.
Well,
and I'll be ready to talk.
well, just with respect to when you knew, when did you know?
I don't have any dates in my head like that. I'm not going to answer these off the record questions. If I had my file in front of me, I could maybe answer a question.
Okay. Well, we know what was just said in the hearing. I mean, this was just minutes ago.
Okay, well, if you heard something, then you can report that. But I didn't say it.
But for 2 years, is
I
it
didn't
fair
say
to
it, did I?
Did you know for 2
Thank you
years?
for the question. I'm not going to answer the
When did you know of
question at this
Mr.
time.
Pearson's
Thank you so
innocence?
much. Appreciate it.
Why won't you answer that question? You doing, Mr. Wilson?
Hey, Jody.
Hey,
Good to see you.
can you tell us why you and your office fought against Mr. Pearson's innocence in State versus Michael Pearson? Pearson is also suing the South Carolina Attorney General's office, claiming the office knew of Pearson's innocence and it did nothing about it, arguing it did not need to accept the investigation by Clarendon County or Finney's recognition of plaintiff's innocence, and otherwise keeping Pearson in prison for a crime he did not commit. The AG's office's conduct went beyond legitimate adversarial litigation, and the AG made no independent inquiry into plaintiff's innocence and instead actively opposed his release based solely on procedural arguments unrelated to the merits of his innocence claim. The office had a duty, independent of its adversarial role, not to actively obstruct the release of a person it knew or should have known was innocent.
And so, again,
Wilson refused to talk to us about Michael Pearson's case. We had to track him down at a campaign event to ask him about it. There was in the next county over 2 months ago, there was a man who was wrongfully convicted and freed from prison. Every step of his appellate, every step, all of his appeals, even up to the Supreme Court, you and your office fought against this man's innocence. Why is that? And that's the case of Michael Pearson.
so Jody, the way you ask the question, you ask it laced with assertions and innuendo and accusations, and that's not the way a reporter should ask a question. But what I will
let me
answer your question. I have 90 lawyers working in my office. I have between 340 and 350 employees. We manage 8,000 cases over a 15-year period. I cannot speak to the facts of every specific case. So if you want to know about a specific case, then we can put the lawyers who are handling the case there. What I can tell you is, by law, our office is required to defend the state under post-conviction relief as well as appellate law. So somebody has to defend the state's prosecution.
Even if the conviction is later found out it was wrongful and improper?
Well,
you
again,
guys
I
will
can't
defend
speak
that?
to the specifics of a case, only to say that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of cases, but I don't know the facts of every single case. So there have been times that we have defended cases all the way through the appellate process, and because a case gets turned over, doesn't necessarily mean the person was innocent. It just means that there was some flaw in the legal system.
Nowhere do they have a responsibility to defend a conviction at all costs. And in fact, they shouldn't take that position.
Josh Kendrick represents Michael Pearson in the civil lawsuit.
These prosecutors are not here to convict people, and the Attorney General's office is not here to blindly defend convictions. Their job is to do justice. And in this case, they should have done a better job making sure when they knew Mr. Pearson didn't commit this crime, letting him go. But they fought to the very end. They didn't want him out. I think eventually a court told them, you should rethink your position. But I think that what is most egregious about this case is that it is fairly well known that the evidence of his innocence came up years ago and nothing happened.
Fingerprint analyst Marie Hodge died in 2021. We offered every other person named in this lawsuit a chance to have their side included. We haven't received any response. Solicitor Chip Finney denied delaying or impeding Pearson's release from prison back in our original report on this 3 months ago. None of the defendants have filed a formal answer to the lawsuit just yet. As we've seen with civil suits in the past, this could take years to resolve, and we will continue to follow this to the end.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.